Well, hello everyone. I welcome you to this quick video on why 90% of problems in business and life come down to poor communication. This is a topic really dear to my heart, and I would imagine that if you're a leader, an entrepreneur, a business owner, a professional that is actually dealing with clients, or just somebody who's really passionate about working with other people, let's face it, we always have certain people that we call difficult or challenging. And sometimes we have these conversations that are hard conversations to be had, difficult or challenging, robust debates that we sometimes have. And there's always some potential for personality clashes. Now, if this topic kind of is close to your bed, then you will really like what we're going to talk about, because I firmly believe that there is no such thing as difficult people. In fact, there's only difficulties in terms of our approach. And very easily, we can go into something that is a misunderstanding just because we might speak a different language, to use an analogy. Just imagine now that you speak, let's say, Indian, Chinese, Russian, or French, and I'm the one speaking English here. Of course, if we haven't learned to speak each other's language, we won't be able to communicate and understand and appreciate where we're coming from. So this is really where it all starts. Here's now an opportunity for us to look at doing things differently and to be effective as a communicator, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a team player, as a sales professional or business development manager, or just somebody who's really keen to work with other people and making sure that it's easy, but also successful. And so the topic of today is exactly that. So whether in business or in life, we all have certain people to deal with that not always present themselves as easy. But it's not their problem. It's not their fault. It's just a gap in our skill set that they alert us to whenever it happens. So, my friends, I want to engage you and give you an opportunity to step up to become a master communicator. And I'm going to share a few case studies with you, real examples of real people and real results they've gotten as a result of them stepping up and becoming master communicators. The first example that comes to mind is Dayon. Dayon is, or was at the time, a senior executive of one particular department in a large national business. And he had been in the business for over 20 years, so 2 decades, and been one of the first few employees actually in this business alongside the CEO, who also has been there for a very long time. So these two gentlemen, they worked together for 2 decades, knew each other inside out, valued each other on a personal level, became friends even, although they also were professionally engaged with one another. And one day, Dayon comes in, or let's say over the course of several years, he had asked several times for funding for certain projects to expand his team with certain resources, and he found that it wasn't successful or not as much as he would have liked, especially when someone else new came in from outside the business as a senior leader as well and got funding like this within a matter of a few weeks after he joined. So that made Dayon really think, how is this possible that this new person is a lot quicker successful than I, with the same CEO who I already have a pre-existing relationship with that I've developed over the past 20 years. Clearly, there is something that isn't working for me here. And I'm glad he had that realization, or at least that question in terms of what should I do, or why is it that this person is more successful than I am? And so that's where we started doing some work together. And I have been very privileged to work alongside Dayon and his team for multiple years now. But here's now the catch. As Dayon was sitting in my signature program, Communication Mastery, he realized that his way of presenting his case, aka making a pitch, is very much in a way that he would want to hear it, right? Because he, as many of us, got taught to treat people the way that we want to be treated. Guess what? The CEO is very different to Dayon. And so Dayon had to learn to change his style when pitching to the CEO so that the CEO had the right information presented in the right manner so that he can make an informed decision in his own way. As soon as Deon did this, I'm talking now within 2 months following the course that he did with me, Deon was successful on 2 occasions, securing top dollars that he didn't achieve for 20 years prior. Now, please let this sink in for a moment. He achieved in 2 months what he didn't achieve in 20 years with the same person. So the person didn't change, but Deon's communication changed, and it definitely yielded results for him. Great story, great example, and you can do the same. Another example now. This is now one that I borrow from Glenn. Glenn is the founder and CEO of a multinational consulting firm. Highly respected, doing some amazing work out there with leading organizations in Australia and beyond. And the team is rapidly growing as well. Glenn realized that while we were doing some work together, that basically some of the deals that he and his team had missed out of, deals that they were really well positioned for, deals that they had the right expertise and credentials for, and even the right pricing and the likes, they missed out of it. And he realized while we were sitting in the course together that the reason why they missed out was not because of their product, their service, the pricing, or the people involved. It was all about the way that the project had been pitched to the buyer. And the buyer in this case was a very slow-paced, very methodical, very conservative, very information-driven type of person who was very risk-averse, needed to get a lot of facts and figures right, and was all about the detail. And the challenge, though, is for somebody like Glenn, is that he's the opposite of this person. Whilst the first one is very detailed, analytical, and very task-focused, Glenn is very people-focused, very innovative, very extroverted, and very outgoing, and big picture-like. Kind of the opposite, like night and day, compared to his client. Now you can imagine, if 2 people are each other's opposites, there's a major gap in between that unless your communication is building a bridge to them, you have a gap, and that gap is not surmountable, which means it causes challenges and difficulties. And in this case, it led him to miss out on a business opportunity. Now, the good news is that Glenn since has learned how to now deal with these type of buyers that have a very different communication style and a very different personality style to him. But guess what? He's making inroads with it. And since then, Glenn has also brought his entire team to the same course to help them also step up and become more agile in dealing with people that are different to them. Because it's not about how we want to buy. It's not how we want to hear things. It's about how other people want to be communicated to. And as soon as we learn how to do that, and we do that really well, it's so much easier to turn difficult into easy. Suddenly, people that initially we experience as difficult become easy people, but also the conversations that we thought might become challenging and hard turn into easy as well. And that is all what it takes, a change in communication. Let me just also share another example for the ladies also watching this video. A woman that is very close to my heart because she's a fellow coach out there. She works with a lot of leaders and their teams and has a big track record into conflict resolution. She confessed one day to me that she would love to work with more engineering companies. She sees that there's a lot of opportunities for her there, for her and her team to add value to them. But she found that initially, as she was presenting her case and doing coffee meetings and putting proposals together and sharing it with the senior executives, that initially few of those opportunities actually converted into dollars in the bank. And so a lot of the times these people were holding off the boat until Kate learned together with me on how to read her buyers, as in read what their styles is, prepare for her meetings with them, craft her proposals in a more effective way, and then present that in the way that the buyers would like to hear it. As she did that, suddenly some of her best clients were engineering companies. And it's no surprise, because success and failure are predictable in advance, and failure specifically is preventable in advance. It's a two-piece. It's predictable and preventable whether we're going to be unsuccessful. And then obviously we know then also how to change it. And so again, Kate since then has gone on to again be one of the success stories featured by becoming a master communicator. And yes, that's another one. For the lawyers amongst you, I recently had a conversation with somebody who I'm actually happy to call a friend. Roger is a lawyer, tremendously hard worker. I actually have, thanks to him, I've actually had a good insight into the world of lawyers. And I can only see that it's hard work. It's long hours. It's before hours, after hours, even weekends, and very often without holidays. So I tremendously respect the type of work that he and his associates do. And here's what Roger told me about having changed his communication to adapt basically to the people that he's speaking to. He said that it helped him at home because he found that he now realized finally, after multiple years of being together with his now wife and having kids with her, is that he now sees why at times there was a bit of a clash between the two of them. And he now feels more comfortable in dealing with some of the more tricky moments in their relationship. Now, how beautiful is that? And he's not alone. Another person who is a builder, Zach, said exactly the same, that basically the work that we've done together actually has helped his marriage, and which is beautiful as well to hear. And so I'm glad that we are able to have an impact out there, help people in their personal relationships as well as in their professional relationships, and where they can measure the difference it makes. It's so great. I love it. That's also why I love the work I do. Another example here for the accountants amongst you or professional services providers. Grant is a senior leader that I had the pleasure of working with many years ago, along with his team. They actually approached us at La Group Partners for some work to be done to help all of the accountants and the advisors to communicate more effectively with clients, so that clients, this is the brief that they gave me, would look a lot more forward to actually meeting with them. Because you can imagine, accounting, it's sometimes a bit dry. There's a lot of numbers involved. Not many business owners are very much into detail and number crunching and bookkeeping. Many of them actually try to delay it as much as they can. I'm not saying all, but quite a few of them. And I would suggest that probably about 70% of Australians would fall in that bucket amongst the business owners. Now, anyway, Grant had a very clear brief that he wanted my help with. And so we did quite a bit of work with him and the team over a number of weeks and months. And after that work that we did together, Grant reported that they had secured a multinational deal that was the largest of its kind in the history of the firm in South Australia and Northern Territory. Merely big dollars involved. And he said we were up against other competitive brands, some of that were a bit bigger positioned, some of them at the same level position as well in terms of the tiers of accounting firms. And he said they were successful not because they were the cheapest, because they actually were relatively highly positioned dollars-wise. But he said literally the way that he learned how to communicate to a panel of buyers, meaning a boardroom with multiple people in front of him, where he had to pitch how they would approach them and how they would look after their account and how they would service them. And also then address all of their questions and concerns of the panel. Because they were so effective in doing it, they obviously landed the gig. And he afterwards confessed to me that he said, look, it's because I learned how to communicate with these buyers that we won the work and he was so thrilled for it. So again, this just goes to show that as we modify our style, which you can learn as well, and I actually will invite you to do some free training of mine and download a free PDF as well that will help you to do so really well. Before I release exactly the details of that, which you will see also below this video, I also would like to share with you the story of Debbie. Debbie is basically an owner of a financial planning practice together with her husband Arthur. And Debbie and Arthur had a team of financial planners and para-planners and the likes working for them, and also some virtual assistants over in Philippines. And these people had been around for multiple years, part of the team for multiple years. And as Debbie learned to become a master communicator with my signature program, she said that as she got back to work the next day and she sat down with one of her staff, she said, and she literally sent me this as a testimonial in writing, she had the most heartfelt conversation with this one person in her team that she clearly never had in the 2.5 years prior to that, because she just didn't know how to approach a conversation with this young man. They were so different. They felt awkward around each other, and therefore they didn't confide in one another. But suddenly she had the most heartfelt conversation with this gentleman, who is also, by the way, from a different cultural background. And sometimes that in itself already creates a little bit of differences. And so how beautiful is it that these people suddenly had an hour chat, really going, like doing some soul sharing with one another, really growing close to it, really connecting with each other. And suddenly trust, rapport, and goodwill just went through the roof as a result of that one conversation. Now, this is a bit the warm and fuzzies, I agree. But you can imagine when an employee comes to work feeling comfortable working for their leader, working with their leader, and actually suddenly feeling supported, respected, and valued by the leader, that suddenly this person is willing to go the extra mile and give even more of them. So you can imagine that as we become better leaders, as we engage more people around us, so will the goodwill and the productivity increase. And therefore, your business will reap the rewards of that. Whether it's your own business or you're an employee working for this business, it does make a difference how we communicate and how we engage with people. Last example that I'd like to share with you today is the story of Chris. Chris actually has been a high flyer in sales prior to him coming to me. He was already in the top, 10% in his field, but he really went the extra mile, and actually several times the extra mile, by doing the work we do in the field of communication. He learned how to change his approach, adapt his style to suit his buyers. And as he did that, not only was he successful at selling himself, at least that I know, twice to a new employer, using the same skills that he learned in communication mastery, and also securing a pay grade that he wanted from the strategies that he learned. But also he was able to suddenly increase the size of his deals from the maximum of $50,000 that he had prior to working with me to multi-million-dollar deals after working with me. And so this just goes to show that in sales and business development, how you communicate really makes a difference. And it's so easy to measure the impact of and the effectiveness by looking at your strike rate. If you notice, for example, that the average, this is according to HubSpot, by the way, a leading CRM system provider globally that has obviously very detailed insights into different industries across countries. They say that the average close rate or conversion ratio for business-to-business sales is roughly 20%. Depends on whether it's biomedical, software sales, professional services, financial services. But if you take the whole of it, it's about 20%. And guess what? How interesting is it that 20% correlates to 1 style out of the 4 on disc. Example, if you master 1 style on the disc, your likelihood is that you're going to convey your message in your own way, whether it sticks or not, whether it's effective or not, whether it's suitable for the situation or not, which means you'll automatically enforce your own style, aka your own language, on somebody who might speak a very different language to you. And that then means that we're missing out 8 out of 10 opportunities for business growth. 8 out of 10. That, to me, is such a pure waste. It's not funny, and it has to be addressed. And the only way we can do so is becoming by master communicators. Master communicators, like Chris, have clearly demonstrated that there's a science and an art to communication. And once again, if you click on the link below, I'll give you more insights with a free on-demand training that is 3 steps to deal with anyone, especially difficult people, and get results. That free training is available to you both as a recording as well as a PDF download. Just click the link below and you just go through the steps there and you'll get access to all of that material for free. You're welcome. You're my guest. I want to look after you and add value to you. Last one that I also want to share with you is that this 2 out of 10 has also, or 20% conversions. We've seen that many people that have gone through the communication mastery course with us that have actually gone from 20 to 40 to 45 to 65 and even 95% strike rate, which means for every 10 quotes and proposals they present to a new buyer, many of them translate into dollars in the bank. And there's not a single other sales method or communication approach that can help you get these type of results that we are getting with our flagship program called Communication Mastery, as well as the Business Development Accelerator if it's specifically for sales and business development. But anyway, communication is about people. So whether you're a leader, you're just a valued employee, proactive, that is looking for more growth and professional development, whether you're an advisor or a business owner, an entrepreneur, or just somebody who is really keen to turn difficult people into easy, I invite you warmly to accept my token of appreciation for you by going to my free training, go through the training itself, download the PDF, and watch where that takes you. I appreciate you watching. I wish you much joy and success by becoming a master communicator. And any thoughts or questions, please post them below. My name is Bram. I look forward to seeing you soon.